Who wants to be inspired? Who wants to be inspired? All right, if you want to be inspired, we got to figure out what I'm going to inspire you to do. You don't just get inspired, you have to inspire to do something. And what the goal is to live the highest quality of life for as long as possible. Isn't that the goal for everyone, not just people with Parkinson's? You want to live the highest quality of life for as long as possible. And although there's not always evidence-based information for what I'm going to say today, I can at least limit it to one person in the clinical trial, and that's me. That this has worked for me. And I think that's real important, that you understand that what I'm talking about, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a doctor, I'm not in the medical profession, but I know what I've gone through over the last 16 years and what's worked for me and what's not worked for me. So I'm going to give a testimonial as to that, and that should be hopefully something you take away from this. So I want to say first, I live in South Florida, where it's warm. And they say, I've heard many people say, what day was winter last year? Well, I can turn that around and ask you what day was summer this past year. Because it's cold out, and it's warm where I'm from. So, first I want to set the stage a little bit. I don't have Pollyanna attitude. I don't have rose-colored glasses. I get it. As a U.S. President said, former U.S. President Bill Clinton, I feel your pain. I am one of you. We are in the same situation. I've had Parkinson's 15 years. And I think everyone's like a snowflake, just like the doctor was saying. Everyone's like a snowflake. We all advance at different speeds, and we all get it at different ages. But what you've got to do is do what you can to slow the progression. Do what you can. That's all you can do, is do what you can. And I have some hints on that. But it is horrific. It's horrific for the patient, first of all, for the spouse, for the other caregivers, for the rest of the family, and any family business that you've got. It's terrific. I don't want to breeze that over and say everything's great and wonderful. Finding out. Talk about finding out, and everyone's got the story on finding out when they got Parkinson's. I walked into a doctor's office, a neurologist's office, was the last person of the day. The receptionist went home. I filled out the paperwork. I handed it to the doctor when she came out to get me, and she said, "You have Parkinson's disease." I said, "Hold on, time out. How can you say that? You haven't looked up my nose. You haven't taken blood sample. You haven't hit my knee with a hammer. What do you mean?" She said, "You have all the classic symptoms. Your arm doesn't swing when you walk." And I noticed that, and I thought it was a little strange. But my arm didn't swing when I walked. My facial expression never changed. I didn't blink. I had tremors. And my handwriting was illegible. Now, I'm a lawyer, so my handwriting, of course, is illegible. But I said to her, "I want a confirmatory test." And as you heard, there aren't any confirmatory tests. What she said to me, that would be an autopsy. And I didn't opt for the autopsy at that time. And I'm still going to hold off on that. But that's finding out. I'll tell you, the next thing that you go through is an emotional roller coaster. And a lot of you have been through this. There's all sorts of emotions that come up. And you need to recognize that and deal with them. The first emotion that comes up, the first thing I thought about was this. Anyone get it? Denial. Denial. I'm probably still in denial. That's denial. The next emotion I dealt with was shock. And I'll tell you about shock. I, strangely enough, have been in 2 bus accidents. I was in camp when I was 14, and a bus that I was in actually tipped over. And people were injured. Lots of kids were injured. And I was in a Greyhound bus in Scranton, Pennsylvania, hit some black ice, went in the trees. The bus driver was killed. And it was kind of, those are the 2 times I saw white light. I call it white light because when I got diagnosed with Parkinson's, I saw white light. Things slowed down. I don't remember the drive back to work. I don't remember anything about that day, but everything kind of moved in slow motion. And that's the same thing that happened in the bus accident. By the way, if you see me getting on a bus, get off the bus. Depression. Depression's a real serious issue. And I've always been an optimistic kind of kid. My parents said that I found a positive to everything, and that's a difficult thing to do. I think that you're either born with it or you're not, but you can develop it. When I was 10 years old and my brother was 8, I made a fort out of some fencing. And he took a rock and hit me over the head because I wouldn't let him in the fort. Rightfully so. Blood was everywhere. My mom's freaking out. We went in for the doctor. I got 10 stitches. My brother tells the story it was 2, but it was 10. I get home, and they had to keep me up to see if I had a concussion, but I didn't know what that meant. I was only 10 years old. So my brother went to bed, my older sister went to bed, and I stayed up. And then they brought out ice cream because they felt so bad. And I said, this is the luckiest day of my life. I got hit over the head with a rock. 10 stitches. Luckiest day of my life. Well, the first time I ever felt depression was after I got diagnosed with Parkinson's. There's a chemical issue that goes on in the brain. First of all, you got diagnosed with Parkinson's. It's enough to depress you right there. But that was funny. You like that? She liked that. I was driving along in my car, and I went into the deepest, darkest hole. Not literally, not the potholes here. Figuratively. I didn't care if I lived or died. And that was my first experience with depression. And I came out about 20 minutes later, and I said, oh my goodness, what was that? And I waited about 2 more weeks, and it happened again. And at least I knew I was going to come out of it. I came out of it, and I said, I've got to go to the doctor and get some. So I got some antidepressants, and I've been fine since. Get antidepressants. Go ahead and take them if you need them. Work with your doctor. It's important that you take them because it will affect your mood. It'll affect your outlook on life. And it's not like it's your fault. That's one thing I like to emphasize. You weren't riding a motorcycle on a slippery road without a helmet on. You didn't go to a second-rate bungee jumping place. You didn't do anything wrong. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Do the things necessary to get yourself the best quality of life possible. If that means take antidepressants, take the antidepressants. It's good for you. It's good for your care partner. It's especially good for your care partner. Scared. I think people get scared. I think the fear is a lot of what's going on. The fear of the unknown, the fear of what's going to happen, coming to conferences and seeing people in wheelchairs and saying, is that my future? Is that a potential future? That's a scary thing. You talked about non-motor symptoms, and that's something that's only come up in the last couple of years that people have talked about that. There's the tip of the iceberg of the motor symptoms. The motor symptoms are just the tip of the iceberg. All those non-motor symptoms. And I include in there self-esteem issues. I was John Baumann, General Counsel of Steel Technologies. Now I'm just John Baumann. That plays with your mind. I even throw in there lack of earning potential, reduction in earning potential. I was 48 when I had to give up practicing law. 48 to 63, that's a lot of money. That's off the table. That's what Parkinson's did to me. That's something you need to think about and consider. And so let's talk about manifestations. But then I talk about snowflakes. When I think of how different we are, I think of a snowflake. It's perfect just the way it is. Do you have many snowflakes here? Perfect just the way it is, but they're all different. So you're perfect just the way you are. You're just different. And you need to recognize those differences. Is there anything you can do? First of all, educate yourself. You're here. Good job. Give yourself a hand. You're educating yourself. Got some great information from the doctors, great information from the occupational therapist. I think that the information you got was a lot of information that you need to digest, and there aren't a lot of answers. It's a complex issue. There are not a lot of answers. That's what I came up with in my studies. Form your team. Now, who's in your team? Who do you want around you? You need a movement disorder specialist. You heard that. That's what they said, get a specialist. You need physical therapist, occupational therapist. You need a massage therapist. It's not always thought of, but if I had a lot of money, I'd get a massage every day. I love getting massages. You need to bring in someone from Parkinson's Society, get to know them, so that they can give you answers to questions that you have. There's a whole, you have to form a whole team around you, and that's what's important. And then reclaim your positive perspective. Find a way to reclaim your positive perspective, and I'll talk about that at length. First of all, you need to believe in yourself and your team. Believe in yourself. You are the same person you were before you got Parkinson's. It's just different. You have different abilities, you have different skills, you have different traits, you have different strengths, you have different weaknesses. I went to a workshop. I put on a workshop in Indiana, and 35 women, they didn't have the facilities that you have here, 35 women got in a hotel room with me, and we did a workshop. It's not exactly what I pictured 35 women and me in a hotel room was, but it was good. So I asked the first woman, I said, tell me about yourself. She said, I've had Parkinson's for 12 years and I have these symptoms. And the next one said, I have Parkinson's for 8 years and I have these symptoms. Next one said, I have Parkinson's. And I said, time out, stop. You are not Parkinson's. You are so much more than Parkinson's. Tell me about yourself. The first one brightened up and said, well, I'm an architect and you can see one of my buildings in the skyline of Indianapolis. Awesome. And the second one said, well, I raise prize-winning tomatoes. I'm a gardener. And I said, that's great. And it went on from there. And it's as if the clouds parted, if they ever part here, and the sun came through, and it was a different atmosphere. And that's what you need to focus on. Focus on the fact that you are the same person you always were. You just have different strengths and abilities. When I wrote my book, Besides Success, You Ain't Dead Yet, it was originally going to be, I was always thought about writing a book for students to learn how to, basic success skills, because there's no class for that. So I took the 12 success principles and I applied them to students. And then I applied them to my profession, or any profession. Well, thank goodness I got Parkinson's, because it added a whole new dimension to this. Being successful with Parkinson's. And the same principles apply. You need to do an assessment of what you can do and not focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can do. I'll tell you what I can't do. I can't practice law anymore. I can't play softball anymore. I love playing softball. But what I can do is I can do this. And this is what I love to do. And this is what I enjoy most in life. So you're giving me a lot of pleasure and enjoyment. And I thank you for that. But believe in yourself and believe in your team. I love this Tim Story quote, regain your shout. What it's from is, do you know how when you're 10 or 11 years old, you walk into your house and you say, I'm home! No one need be home. There may be no cars in the driveway. You knew no one was home. But you came in the house and announced your presence with authority. I'm home! Well, somewhere along the line we lost that. Whether we were beaten down or whatever, we need to regain that. Regain your shout. Regain your shout. Be the strong person that you are. Be the person that has inner strength. Be the person that has determination. Be the person that has resilience. Be the person that has persistence. Do those things. Now, I'm not saying that when I'm halfway through 90 minutes of hot yoga, I don't say to myself, what the heck am I doing? Why am I doing this? I have to continually remind myself why I'm doing this. I do this for my care partner so that she has less of a burden. I do this for my children so I can walk my daughter down the aisle one day. I do this for my grandchildren that are not existent yet so I can carry them and they don't have to be put in my lap in a wheelchair. That's why I do this. And I have to keep reminding myself, and that's what keeps me going. Anyone know who this is? Me. No, it's not me. It's not Jose Batista. It's Ted Williams. Ted Williams, Red Sox fan. I'm a big Red Sox fan. Ted Williams. Reason I bring up Ted Williams is he was known as arrogant and conceited, but he also had a great belief in himself. And I use him as an example of someone who has a great belief in themselves. He batted over 400, which is in 1941, which is hasn't come close to since. That means he got 4 hits out of every 10 times up. He was asked by a reporter when he was 65 years old how he would do against today's pitching. And he said, I'd hit about 210, 200, and which is 2 hits out of every 10. And the reporter was taken aback and said, how can you say that? You're one of the best hitters of all time, and you think you only hit 200 or 210. He said, well, goodness sake, I'm 65 years old. How do you think I'd do against today's pitching? Well, what's crazy about that is he still thinks he can get 2 hits out of every 10 at 65 years old. That's confidence. That's the type of confidence you need to exude. You need to have that kind of self-esteem and self-confidence. Who do you think this guy is? My man. I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for 20 years. I got to meet Muhammad Ali, his wife, his daughters. He said, I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was. Wow. That's some serious self-esteem. That's what you need to show. My daily action plan. I break up my daily action plan into like daily things, daily, not big picture things, but daily, and that's what I think everyone here needs to focus on. What can you do on a daily basis? Well, first of all, time and medication. You heard that from the doctors. Take your medication on time. Take your medication when you're supposed to. Don't wait. Set your alarm on your watch. Everyone's got watches. I don't have a watch, but everyone else has watches. Set your watch, whatever. Set your iPhone, whatever. Take your medication on a timely basis. That's the only way you can tell whether it's working or not working, and give proper information to doctors. This is something that's not talked about very often, but eat a healthy diet, an extremely healthy diet. 5 years ago, I decided to take my health seriously. I was very symptomatic. I had my arms, my hands trembled all the time. I was sleeping a lot. I was drinking a lot. I was not interacting with my family. I hit rock bottom, and I made the decision to get healthy. And I read some books on it, and I only put healthy stuff in the house. And then I met a woman in January of 2012 who helped me learn how to exercise properly and eat right. It's not rocket science. It's not something you don't know that doctors haven't been talking about for 100 years. Eat healthy. You don't have a choice anymore. It's your job to be as healthy as you possibly can. You don't have a choice any longer. I was telling Caitlin last night at dinner that she's 25 years old and she has a choice. She can eat red meat, she doesn't, but she can eat fatty things, she can eat fried food, she can eat McDonald's, she can drink all the diet soda she wants, she can eat all the soda she wants. She has that option. Well, you don't have that option anymore. Your job is to get yourself as healthy as you can. Exercise beyond my comfort zone. Exercise beyond my comfort zone. Whatever exercise you choose, and do something you like to do. When I met my now wife, she was doing Shaun T. Insanity. The name is perfect. Just this wild workout. She was jumping over imaginary logs. Now I'm the one that's supposed to be hallucinating, but she's jumping over the imaginary logs. And she's doing the Heisman maneuver. She hates football, but she's doing the Heisman maneuver. And I'm watching her do this, and what's great about her is she doesn't nag me and she doesn't force me to do anything. She just kind of sets the example. She's doing this wild workout every day, and I'm sitting there watching her. And I finally said, I can do that. I couldn't do it as well, but I said, I can do that. So I started doing it with her. And I said to her, can you give me an exercise plan that will help me ratchet up to where I need to be? She said, sure. So I asked her, that's key, that the patient asks the partner. And it comes from a better place. So she set me on the treadmill first, and then I moved to the elliptical, and I moved to the spin bike, doing standing up on the spin bike in intervals, I call it. Then I started doing Insanity more with her. Then we went to boxing, and we went to core training, and then we ended up doing yoga. So now, for example, and you don't jump into this. This took 5 years. I do either 90 minutes of hot yoga or an hour of boxing every day. Every day. And when I'm traveling, I'm working out in the gym, and it's hard to do. It's not easy. It's not something but it makes a difference. Whether there's evidence or not of it, or you can have a clinical trials, it makes a difference. I lost 35 pounds. I don't have six-pack abs. I have two-pack abs. But my cholesterol was even cut in half. My cholesterol, I got off my cholesterol medicine. So if I can do it, you can do it. Whatever your age, if I can do it, you can do it. If you just make the commitment and take yourself seriously. Stay engaged, mental stimulation. Stay engaged. Does that mean volunteering at Parkinson Society? Sure. Do what you like to do, but stay engaged. They say that if somebody retires and they just sit around watching TV, and someone else retires and they go out and do things every day, you live 7 years longer if you do things every day. 7 years longer. I'm not just talking about crossword puzzles. I'm talking about getting out there and socializing with people. The beautiful thing about the Parkinson's Society and your group is there's a great bonding element that goes on amongst people with Parkinson's. You don't care what car you drive anymore. You have a different perspective. How big your house is, who cares? You've got Parkinson's. It's a different viewpoint, and I'll describe that in a second. But stay engaged, mental stimulation. This is my slide for diet. 5 years ago, I gave up soda, diet soda, fast food. I've not been to a McDonald's or a Burger King or anything else that's fast food in 5 years. I gave up junk food. I gave up fried food. Now, I've tweeted a little bit on the fried food lately, but I gave up those things cold turkey, and it made a tremendous difference. If that's where you want to start, that's just make a decision to yourself to say, I'm going to stop drinking soda, I'm going to drink water. I'm going to stop going to fast food places. My wife would make me, it's kind of weird, but she'd take a tortilla shell and put hummus on it with cucumbers, and I'd have that with me at all times. So if I got hungry at noontime, I had something to eat instead of being tempted by fast food. That's how you plan it out. That's what you do. That's what you plan. This is my wife and me doing kettlebells. The kettlebell instructor did not believe I could do it when I first went in there. And obviously I can. And then I box. Perspective. Let me try to give you a perspective. My son asked me once, what's the worst thing that ever happened to you? And I said, let me think about it. I'll tell you tomorrow. He said, Dad, you're always think about it. You're such a lawyer. What are you going to write a brief? I said, no, just let me think about it overnight. So I came back to him and I said, nothing. He said, Dad, you have Parkinson's disease. How can you say nothing? I said, your sister didn't die. My daughter, Katie, was born without a diaphragm. She had a 40% chance of living. We were given the option of terminating the pregnancy. We chose not to. The nurse saw the imperfection in her. What happens is the stomach moves up in the lungs area, and the lungs don't have place to develop. So she had to be put on a life support system immediately. 6 days into her life, she had to have a Gore-Tex pad put in, and she has cerebral palsy today. She was on life support for 60 days. I imagined her funeral. I imagined what it would like to put her in the ground. When you have that image in your mind, nothing is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And that's what I told him. You've had your blinders removed. I don't know if you know Roddy McDowall, but Roddy McDowall died in 1999. He was a great actor, and he took the role of the butler in the movie Overboard. And I often wondered, why did he take that role? One of the things that I profess in my book is raise your level of awareness. Continually question what is and see beyond what's apparent. So I questioned what is. Why did Roddy McDowall take this role? And I think I figured it out. He got to deliver a line that was so powerful that he took the role just for delivering this line. Goldie Hawn was a rich woman who thought she was poor. She had amnesia, and she lived a life of being poor, and then came back and got her memory back and came back to the ship and her yacht and was rich again. But she was kind of in between worlds. And she said to her butler, she said, "What am I going to do?" And he said, this is the line. He said, "Madam, we were all born with blinders on. You've had yours removed for a short period of time. What you do with that information is entirely up to you. You've had your blinders removed. Whether you have Parkinson's or you're a care partner with someone with Parkinson's, your blinders have been removed. What do you see in the world? What makes a difference? What's your purpose? What do you want to do with the rest of your life? How do you want to make a difference? Your blinders are removed." This is 2012. That's what I looked like. I was inflamed. That's my wife, Bernadette. One saying that I think is real powerful is you don't know how strong you are until being strong is the only option you've got. That's what I mean by it's your job. You don't have the option anymore. You have to be strong. I've had a life-changing journey. I would be in an office somewhere, probably reading contracts on a Saturday. I typically worked on Saturdays, instead of being in front of you wonderful people. I've had a life-changing event. What I do with that information is entirely up to me. As you heard in the introduction, that was a great introduction. I didn't write that. I taught 1,000 students at University of Louisville. 1,000 students, and I've had several dozen come up to me and say, "I would never have gone to law school had you not taken your class." That's the ultimate in compliments. I got rated really high, but my son says that's because I'm an easy grader. Wrote Decide Success. I don't think I would have ever gotten around to doing that. And I help others. What greater role could I play than helping others? What greater role could you play than helping others? Got to go to Malaysia. If anyone reads Mandarin Chinese, let me know, because I don't know what this article says. It's a great picture of us, but I have no idea what they're saying. When I did my speech in Malaysia, there was a woman there translating to Mandarin Chinese. And I would talk for 15 minutes, and then she would repeat it in like 2 seconds. I said, "There's no way you could have said everything I just said." But talk about Michael J. Fox. I think he's from Kansas or Texas or something. I'm not sure. Somewhere. Michael J. Fox. Actually, my wife says when we first met, my hand was pounding on the table because of the tremors. And she said, "What's that?" I said, "Parkinson's." She says, that Michael Jackson thing? No, Michael J. Fox. Query me this. Would he have raised $400 million in for Parkinson's research had he not gotten Parkinson's? Was there a reason that he got Parkinson's? I don't know. I don't have the answers to these questions. My mother, who's a wonderful person, she's still alive. She's 85 years old. She's about a year into my Parkinson's. She said to me, "Now, you know, John, everything happens for a reason." I said to her, "Time out. still a lawyer. You changed a word. Your favorite saying was everything happens for the best, and now you're saying everything happens for a reason. Why'd you change a word? She said, because you got Parkinson's, and I can't imagine that's for the best. Huh. Don't ever say can't to me. I set out to prove to her that Parkinson's somehow, some way, is for the best. And that's what I try to prove every day that I wake up. She still hasn't come around. She still doesn't believe it's for the best, but I'll take for a reason. Uncover your purpose. I say uncover for a reason. It's already there. Your purpose is already there. You just need to uncover it. It doesn't need to be created. You've got your purpose. You know what it is. You know what it is right now when you think about what you enjoy doing and how to help people. Jim Valvano, on living life to the fullest. He was 6 weeks away from passing away, riddled with cancer, and he did the ESPY Awards. He did a speech that was awesome, and he talked about living every day to the fullest. And what he said was, if I think, I laugh, and I cry, whether tears of joy or tears of sadness, I've had a heck of a day. A heck of a day. So think about that. You need to laugh every day, you need to think every day, and you need to shed tears every day, and you'll live a full life. Maintain your sense of humor. I went to New York City, and I did not know until I went to New York City and saw a Smurf that I dressed like a Smurf. I think that's hysterical. I suffer from dystonia. Anyone else here suffer from dystonia? No? Oh my God, you're so lucky. Dystonia is cramping of a certain part of the body that happens the same part of the body all the time. My left foot cramps and goes to the side, and the toes go all different ways, and it's very painful. First time it happened to me, I was in Venice, Italy on a bridge. Strange. So I sat on the curb, and it didn't go away, and it hurt, and it was very painful, and it hurt, and it hurt, and it hurt. And I said to my wife, what are we going to do? And she took off my baseball cap and held it upside down in my hand and said, make some money while you're down there. I can't make this stuff up. I got dystonia 3 days ago, and I was walking around. I had to do some stuff, and I thought I bruised my ankle. But it turned out to be gout. So I took some medicine for gout, and I was able to come to this event, which is great. But what's wild to me is in Rochester, a symposium like this, a doctor said if you have uric acid is neuroprotective. If you get gout, you can't get Parkinson's. I raised my hand in the back. I said, do I get to choose? I'm going to choose gout. But there's an exception to every rule, and I'm the exception. Third thing that happened was I used to play poker with a bunch of guys on Monday Night Football, when Monday Night Football happened. And I played poker with them, and I was terrible. I would lose all the time. I was too reckless. Then I didn't take my medicine for 2 days before. And no one could tell when I got that fourth queen. My facial expression never changed. They thought I was cheating. They threw me out of the game. I want to talk to the care providers, the care partners. And I call them care partners. My wife was nice enough to speak last weekend in Pittsburgh with me, and she did a breakout session. She really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And what she said was, the reason she likes to call them care partners is you are partners. It's not up to the patient to rely upon the care provider or the caregiver or the care partner to do all the things that they need to do. The patient needs to take responsibility. And it was the first time I ever heard her say this. Patient needs to take responsibility for doing as much as they can. Now, I can't clean out gutters unless my life insurance policies are paid up to date. But I can't clean out gutters, but I can empty the dishwasher. And she gives me things that I can do. And I think that's important, that I don't just rely upon her just because I'm the patient and she's the care provider or care partner. We are a partnership. We have an arrangement. She does this, I do this. She does this, I do this. And what she said about care partners is, it's important that you take care of yourself first, or you're going to be no good to anyone. So take care of yourself. Do all the things that I talked about. Eat healthy. Bernadette only brings healthy stuff into the house. I don't have a choice. I can't eat junk food. There isn't any. I have to go to the store. So do the things necessary. Exercise yourself. Take some time to yourself. Get out of the situation once in a while. Do what it takes to keep your own sanity. What I want to do right now is I'd like the patients to thank their care provider, their caregiver, the person that's here that cares for them. Because you have new initials behind your name, just like PhD or MD or JD. You are RTBDA. Rarely thanked, but definitely appreciated. Rarely thanked, but definitely appreciated. Well, we're going to end that rarely. Right now, you need to thank your care partner. Whether it's a touch of the hand or a kiss on the cheek. Don't go any further than that. We're going to keep this G-rated. Calm yourselves down. I'll tell you, the story that hits home for me, that makes me emotional most of the time, is the story of finding out that my daughter had this birth defect. The ultrasound nurse was going through with the jelly and the wand and whatever and trying to decipher the gender of the baby. And she dropped the wand and said, I got to get the doctor, and booked out of the room. And we said, what? And she came back in and said to the doctor, that's it right there. The doctor said, I don't see it. She says, right there. I don't see it. Right there. Oh, now I see it. I said, what? What do you see? The doctor said, the stomach has moved up into the chest, therefore there's no diaphragm. And we were in shock. And not only did I not thank the ultrasound nurse, who basically saved my daughter's life because she was able to go directly from the birth room to the life support, but I don't know her name even to this day. And she saved my daughter's life. Another child was brought in from another hospital, and the ultrasound nurse did not see it. And he had the same condition, and he died on the way to the hospital because they weren't set up for it. So rarely, I wouldn't thank somebody for doing that, but I should have. Rarely thanked, but definitely appreciated. When you were diagnosed with Parkinson's, you were able to start doing the things necessary to give yourself the best possible quality of life. You should have thanked your neurologist, but it's not natural to say, you have Parkinson's, thank you very much. But it's something that they need to be thanked for. These are the applicable success principles. Have faith. Sometimes you just need to have faith. Whatever your higher power, whatever you think is afterlife, you need to have faith that someone's out there, if not directing what's going on, overseeing it. I like to give tangible takeaways, things that you take with you and think about and consider over the next few weeks. Regain your shout, we heard that. Remove your blinders. Just keep moving forward. Don't look in the rearview mirror. I mentioned it, but I don't think about what it would be like to be a lawyer. I loved being a lawyer. I love being a lawyer. I absolutely loved it. But that's in the past. I can't get malpractice insurance. I have cognitive issues, short-term memory issues, multitasking issues. I can't do it. So I'm not going to think about that. That's in the rearview mirror. I'm going to keep moving forward and do what I can do. Believe in yourself and your team. Tap into your inner strength. Discover new joys. Discover new joys. Discover new joys. You will find that there are things out there that you have never tried, like they were talking about different exercises, that you will love doing. I actually wrote a poem. I'm not going to read it to you. I wouldn't make you suffer. But I would never have written a poem. So creativity is supposed to be enhanced. Live every moment and uncover your purpose. I want to read a quote to you. Leo Buscaglia. Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. If if you can't think of anything else, be that smile, be that touch, be that kind word, be that listening ear, be that honest compliment, be that smallest act of caring. It's a great blueprint for what you can do. You can influence your experience. You can influence your experience. By having a positive attitude, you can influence your experience. And I can prove it to you. I can prove to you that having a positive attitude will help you. When the doctor talked about a double-blind study with a placebo, the reason they do that is because they give half the participants a placebo, a sugar pill, and half them the medication. The first 3 months, everybody gets a benefit. Everyone gets better for the first 3 months. What else is that but the power of the mind? You think you took the medicine, and you get better. That's just factual. So therefore, your mind is a very powerful thing, and you can be as positive as you can be. Start today to bring hope back into your life. Let me tell you a story. I was in San Antonio, and I'll do the same thing here. I know it's getting late, and I know you've been here and you've been very patient. But I'll speak to anyone that wants to, and I have some books. If people want to get them, I'll autograph them. But that's not the purpose of this. I'll talk to anyone one-on-one that wants to talk to me about what I've done or what I've been able to do and that sort of thing. I went through the line in San Antonio, and the last person in line was this gentleman. I said, "Do you have Parkinson's?" And he said, "No, my wife does." I said, "Well, she's not here." She said, "Didn't feel up to it. She has rheumatoid arthritis as well as Parkinson's. She's in a wheelchair, and she just didn't feel up to coming, though she's watched several of your YouTubes and is a big fan." I said, "Oh, what are you doing right now?" I said, "I'm about to go home." "You think we could get there and get me to my airport? I got a flight in 3 hours." He said, "Sure." So I got in a stranger's car, drove to the house, surprised her, got to know her a little bit. He left the room, and she said to me, "I'm thinking about ending my life." Now, I'm not trained in this. I'm not Dr. Phil. I don't know what to say. But I did notice that she had pictures of children on the wall. And he had told me that she was an English teacher. And I said, "Who's those kids on the wall?" She said, "Those are my grandchildren." "Have you taught them everything you need to teach them?" She said, "No." I said, "Then you have a reason for living." It was a powerful moment. Inspire yourselves, inspire others. Be a part of the Parkinson's community. Don't be shy about being a part of the Parkinson's community. Don't be ashamed to be a part of the Parkinson's community. It's a great community because you have a real bond, and it's something that's real and tangible, and something that the support groups can be really helpful, and you can find inspiration. So if I've found inspiration in what I've been going through, you can find inspiration in what you've been going through. Thank you very much.